You know, I gotta say, it is nice to be making tech videos again. So if you guys have any requests for future tech videos, post in the forum right below, and I'll give you a shout out. Let's do this. Hello guys, how are you? David DeFranco here from daviddefranco.com. Today's video is all about iOS 10. That's actually a favorite feature of mine. Let's talk. These are 10 things I like about iOS 10. Number 1, the redesigned lock screen plays very well with Touch ID. But first of all, let's talk about the obvious. Raise to wake is just brilliant. It works pretty much perfectly, especially if you're like me and you constantly have your phone sitting next to you on a desk. You simply pick it up and boom, your phone lights up instantly. This is very useful and definitely a welcome feature. But more importantly, slide to unlock, something Apple pretty much invented back in 2007, is now gone. You simply click the home button now, thanks to Touch ID, and boom, your iPhone unlocks. Now, of course, you don't need Touch ID to do this, but I do recommend going that route for, well, obviously, security reasons. Number 2, 3D Touch is everywhere. Now, 3D Touch was introduced alongside the iPhone 6s this time last year, and I gotta say, I'm loving it. I honestly cannot imagine using a phone without 3D Touch. It's one of the things I missed about iOS when I moved to Android for about a week or two. 3D Touch is really useful. Some people may find it gimmicky or whatever, but I actually find it quite useful, and it becomes even more useful in iOS 10. Like I said, it's everywhere. 3D Touch pretty much has taken over iOS 10. All right, so here are 3 ways that you can use 3D Touch in useful ways. Number 1, different intensities on your flashlight, which I think is pretty neat. I mean, why not? You can quickly access info with widgets. This is incredibly useful for someone like myself who likes to check in to different places using Swarm. Now I can simply do 3D Touch, a little widget pops up with my local place, and boom, I can check in the Wawa instantly without even having to open up Swarm. And I think that's pretty cool. And finally, you can clear all notifications using 3D Touch. This is a feature users have wanted for years now, and well, it's finally here. Number 3, iOS 10 is the most responsive version of iOS ever. Things just feel snappy. It feels like a brand new phone, even though I'm using the iPhone 6s and not the iPhone 7, and apps open and close pretty much instantly. Number 4, Apple Music takes better advantage of iPads. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Apple Music UI in terms of iOS 10 on the iPhone, but I think Apple Music makes a lot more sense on the iPad. It takes advantage of this larger screen real estate, especially with the fact that you can now use Apple Music in split view. Number 5, Messages feels completely new. Because, well, it pretty much is completely new. Think Facebook Messenger, but on an iOS device. We have support for stickers and apps. Animated messages are a lot of fun to use, maybe a little gimmicky, but hey, there's no harm in having fun, right? Of course not. And get this, you can draw using digital touch, just like you can on the Apple Watch. But in my opinion, it makes more sense on an iPhone or iPad, and well, let's face it, it's easier. And finally, scribbling is surprisingly satisfying. You can do signatures, you can draw and all that stuff, and overall, Messages just feels so new and refreshing. Number 6, the redesigned control center is very well thought out. All right, so essentially swiping up, you could always have access to your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, do not disturb, all that good stuff. But now they basically split Control Center into 2 cards. The first card reveals all the things you're used to, brightness, wireless, etc. But then the second card is solely there for media playback, including different AirPlay sources. And I think this is definitely the best route to take, and it kind of fragments the experience a bit. Now, of course, I say fragments in this case in a good way, because, well, I'm not usually a fan of fragmentation, but I'm really glad Apple has finally split up media playback with essential controls. In my opinion, it just makes sense. Number 7, you can finally remove stock Apple apps. Well, most of them anyway. It works exactly as it normally would. You simply hold your finger down on any app icon, you tap the X, boom, the app is gone. Goodbye, stocks. Nobody really uses, okay, maybe some people do use stocks. I don't. I prefer to use stocks in my dashboard widget. Number 8, the Home app, powered by Apple HomeKit, could be a huge hit. Now, I say could be because unfortunately I don't have any accessories set up with my own Home app yet, but I hope to do that very soon with my Ring Video doorbell. But as of right now, I can definitely see a bright future for HomeKit, and I think this is the right route to take because let's face it, the whole smart home thing is very cool, but up until iOS 10's release, it's always been a very fragmented experience. You have all these different apps doing different things. So if Apple's Home app can unify all those experiences into one experience, I think that's pretty damn cool. It's just gonna take a little bit of time for that to happen. Number 9. This is a little one, but I definitely appreciate this very much. The keyboard sounds are quite nice. Yes, I'm sorry to say, but I'm one of those users who prefers to have the keyboard clicks sounds on, which is actually kind of funny because I used to not like having the sound on years ago, but nowadays I just like the little click sounds. It's quite satisfying, and it's more satisfying with iOS 10. If anything, it sounds a little bit like Android, which I think is a good thing. And number 10, the redesigned Photos app is definitely a nice touch. Now, we all love photos. No one in their right mind doesn't love taking pictures or viewing pictures and all that stuff. And well, I think Apple's Photos app has gotten a little better. It's nothing radically different, but it's a nice change, including a brand new albums view. You get detailed search, so this means you can search for things like trees, dogs, water. It's kind of like Google Photos, not as powerful as Google Photos in my opinion, but we're getting there, and it's definitely a nice addition. And speaking of Google Photos, Memories is a brand new feature in iOS. Now, this has been in Google Photos for a while now. It's definitely one of the things I liked about Android, and I should even say just Android, because you can get photos and all that stuff in the web browser on Mac, PC, iPhone, all that stuff. But Memories are now built in by default to the Apple Photos app. And I think it's cool. It's fun. I like being nostalgic. I like looking back. And come on, it's me. I love creating video. I love taking pictures. So it's definitely nice to be reminded of memories now and then. So there you have it. Those are 10 things I like about iOS 10. Now, obviously, I'm just scratching the surface because there's a lot more to feature throughout iOS 10. There's a lot more to experience, I should say. But with that said, what are your favorite things about iOS 10? List your 3 favorite features right below in the comments. I'm interested in getting a conversation going. I think it's the biggest update to iOS since iOS 7. iOS 8 was cool. iOS 9, in my opinion, was kind of meh, not that exciting. But iOS 10 feels completely new. It honestly does. I mean, it still has that same iOS foundation, but it's got a lot more features, especially thanks to 3D Touch. 3D Touch is just satisfying as hell, and I'm enjoying it very much. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Your support means a lot, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace!